Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are putting a lovely edge around all of our Secret Stitches Cal 2021 squares. So this edge is just going to make our squares lay nice and flat, give us a proper stitch count, and make them super easy to join. And it'll also add a little bit of size to our blanket. To edge your squares, I used 400 grams of the same 4-weight worsted acrylic, so I use Savor from Ice Yarns. I'll put a link to that down below. You will also need 12 stitch markers of one color, 14 stitch markers of another color, and 3 stitch markers of a third color. If you don't have stitch markers, you could use paper clips or bobby pins or even just pieces of yarn. You'll also need to use the same size hook that you did for your squares. I'll be using a 6mm, also a darning needle, and a pair of scissors. So let's get started. So starting with our Berry Biscuit square, each of these corner stitch markers we're going to put into a corner where we're going to do our corner stitch. So those are our corners. So in between our corners, we're going to have 12 stitches we're working into. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need your 12 stitch markers in between your corners. Your side will have 14 stitch markers put into it, so just space them out on your table or your working surface, and just so they're kind of spaced out, you'll get an idea of how often you need to put them into the side of your blanket. So that's generally spaced out, and now just wherever they land, I'm going to put them into my square. So 14 stitch markers into the square. And you want to make sure you get 2 strands of your stitch on your stitch marker. If you have a lot of stitch markers, you're welcome to do your bottom and your side. For me, I'm just going to be doing my side and then replacing them for the other 2 sides, so I remember that blue is always top and bottom and my purple is always my sides. I don't want to get confused. So 12 stitch markers in the top, 14 stitch markers in the sides, and 1 stitch marker in each corner, and we are ready to start. So grab your border color yarn and go into that same stitch where you have your stitch marker. Just into that corner stitch, and you can take that stitch marker out. You don't really need it. It's just there to remind you. Bring your yarn back, slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail. Chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that counts as our first single crochet and a chain 2. And now we're going to make a single crochet where we put our stitch marker, 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet into the next stitch with a stitch marker, chain 2, and 1 single crochet into your stitch with a stitch marker. So we're just going to keep working along like this, doing a chain 2 and 1 single crochet into the same stitch as our stitch marker, all the way along until we reach the next corner. Don't worry if it's curling up like this and it looks like it's too tight, you didn't do enough chains. That is fine. That's perfect. Don't worry about it. And keep going until you reach your corner. So our last chain 2 and single crochet into that same stitch as our stitch marker, 2 strands of that chain on our hook, 1 single crochet, chain 2, rotate your work to start working along your side, and into the very same stitch, 1 single crochet. So that is our new corner. And now we're going to keep doing the same thing along the side. Chain 2 and 1 single crochet into where your stitch marker is. And just keeping 2 strands of whatever stitch it is on the top of your hook. So chain 2 and single crochet. If your stitch marker's in the way, or if you've got a funny bit of yarn on it, you can just pop it out. So now we're just going to work along our side doing the same thing of chain 2 and single crochet into where our stitch marker is, all the way along the side, and I'll meet you at the corner. So I've worked into each of my stitch marker spots with a single crochet, so 14 in total. It is all curled up like this. don't worry about it. And keep going until we get right into that corner stitch. So chain 2, and into that same place where your stitch marker is, 2 strands of that stitch on the top of your hook. I want to make sure we're working into the stitch and not the space, like that. 1 single crochet, chain 2, rotate your work a little bit, and 1 more single crochet into that same space. Now go ahead, put a stitch marker into your next corner space and take out all of your stitch markers. And then go ahead and space out your stitch markers, 12 along the bottom and 14 along the side, and pop them into your work where they fit. So when you've spaced out all of your stitch markers, we're ready to just do the same thing. So chain 2, 1 and 2, and into that first stitch, 1 single crochet. Chain 2, skip 2, into the next stitch marker, 1 single crochet. So now keep going along the bottom edge of your square, just making 1 single crochet into each place you have a stitch marker, chaining 2 and 1 single crochet into the next stitch with a stitch marker, all the way along until you reach your corner. And again, don't worry if it's all wrinkled up. That is fine, it'll behave later. Go into your corner stitch and make a corner, and your corners are 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 1 single crochet into the same stitch. Now you can rotate your work and work along your side, putting your 14 single crochets in and along with a chain 2 in between each. So chain 2 and 1 single crochet into the same area as your stitch markers. And always making sure you get 2 strands of a stitch on your hook, so you're not working into a space and you're not working into just 1 loop. So chain 2 and 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way along your side, and I'll meet you at the corner. When you reach your corner, do your chain 2 and into that same stitch that you started in, 1 single crochet, chain 1, and now we're going to single crochet to join. So right in the legs of this first slip stitch we made, right in between those 2 strands of yarn, we're just going to go in and make 1 single crochet. So put your hook in, bring your yarn back, and wrap and take off 2. So 1 single crochet to join. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work, and we want to work into the same corner space in between those 2 single crochets. Right here, we're going to make our corner. So wrap your yarn and make 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet into the stitch, 2 double crochets into the space, 1 double crochet into that stitch, 2 double crochets into the space. So now we're going to keep going along doing the same thing, 1 double crochet into the stitch, and 2 double crochet into each space, all the way along until we reach our corner. When you reach the corner, we're going to go into that single crochet. So we have to go into the stitch, the first stitch of the corner, so 1 double crochet. And then into the chain 2 space, we're going to do a corner of 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. Rotate your work a little bit, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same stitch, that same space. Just like that. So that is our new corner space for the next row. Now into the stitch, 1 double crochet. And now keep working along, 2 double crochets into each space, 1 double crochet into each stitch, all the way along. I'll meet you at the next corner. So when you reach your corner, We're going to go into that first single crochet and make our stitch. So 1 double crochet into the next stitch, or the first stitch of the corner. And into that chain 2 space, we're going to do our corner. And corners are always 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Chain 2, rotate your work a little bit, and 2 more double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. And go into that very first stitch. 1 double crochet. And now pause the video and keep working your way along, doing the same thing. 2 double crochets into the space, 1 into the stitch, and corners, 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet, making sure to go into those stitches of the corner as well. So pause the video and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. When you get back to your corner, go into that single crochet with your double crochet. And now into the corner space, we're going to do 2 double crochets for this side. 1 and 2. Chain 1, and we're going to single crochet to join. So joining with a single crochet leaves us in the middle of our corner, so it hides our join. And just find the top of that chain 3. Right there, 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook, and 1 single crochet to join. Hold that open with your finger and thumb and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Holding it open, turn your work. And into that same space, 1 double crochet. You might want to put a stitch marker into that top of the chain 3, just to mark where you're going to join when you get around to this side, if you're new to crochet. It can look, when you're coming around, it can look like you're still going, and you can skip that join right here. So now we're going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch. So each of these stitches gets 1 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. So 1 double crochet into the first stitch, and 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way along. So you can pause the video and I'll meet you when we get close to the corner. At your corner, go into that last stitch. And into the corner space, we're going to build another corner. And corners are always 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets all into the same space. So there's 2 double crochets, chain 2, rotate your work a little bit, and 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. 1 and 2. Now we want to make sure we go into that very first stitch after the corner with 1 double crochet, and now 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around into our corner spaces. Our corners, again, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets all the way around, and I will meet you when you get back to where we started. Getting back to our corner, we have to go into that chain that is a stitch. So 1 double crochet into that last stitch, which is a chain. And now into this corner space, we are going to finish our corner. So we started our corner with a chain and 2 double crochets, and now we are going to finish with 2 double crochets into the same space. 1 and 2, and we're finished with this row, this color, our border, so chain 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to slip stitch to join. So we're going to take that stitch marker out, find the top of the chain 3, right there, put your hook in and slip stitch just like that. Chain 1, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. Sew in your tails and you're finished. So this is what it looks like when it is finished. And now do the exact same thing with each of your other squares, and then we will be ready to join. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I can't wait to see all of your squares. You can tag me over on Instagram at Secret Yarnery or Facebook, the Secret Yarnery Crochet Community. That is our group where you can upload your photos, and we just have our page also, which is the Secret Yarnery. So thanks so much for hooking along. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, go ahead and hit that subscribe channel down below and the notification bell beside that so you don't miss out on any more awesome tutorials, just like all of these. Wasn't that so fun? So thanks for hooking along. We'll see you in the next video, and stay hooked.